Okay, you got 1 minute, Steve. 30 seconds.
Yep, 30 seconds.
I should probably turn that down.
Sure, why? You lost me, but okay.
Okay. I'll start this while you're getting it up. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for attending tonight. Just a couple of housekeeping items here. For item number 7 under personnel, we do have a handout that's back here. This is the proposed agreement for our potentially new street and park superintendents, okay? So that's there. For media, I believe you have one also. So with that, we will start this evening by reviewing the consent agenda, which includes the council minutes of January 4th, Telecom Commission, December 27th, Community Center minutes January 11th, EDA January 10th, Planning Commission January 11th, Library Board January 11th, and the regular bills. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion Marv and who seconded it? Oh, Jim, sorry. Seconded by Jim. Any discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Department heads this morning, or this afternoon, this evening. Any department heads for this part? Nope. Okay. Next, we have the Windom Area Health Governing Board. They're going to be presenting a management agreement presentation to us this evening. We have many, if not all, members of the Windom Area Health Board, who represents the city of Windham in that position at our fine hospital. And so with that, I believe, and Steve, I forgot to put one more chair up here for those folks. They'll have 3 sitting, probably that one right there. Yep, thank you. And the presenters, for the council's benefit, I asked if they would do introductions in case not everybody here knows them. You've heard them by name, you know them within our community for the most part. So I'll turn it over to Chairman.
All right. I'm Michael Fisher. I'm the board chairman. Next to me is Kay Gross, who is the vice chair, and Justin Schmidt, who is also on the board. We also have here as well in the audience, we have Laura Fresk and Terry Teagles as well that are also on the board. So we have been discussing for about the past year and a half, as our contract is coming up with Sanford, as far as what we were going to do in the future. We have sat down many different times and had meetings outside our regular board meetings to determine what the best strategy and what the best outcome would be for the hospital. We've been working with Sanford now for over 35 years, and we have had a great relationship with them. Everything has really seemed to work well, and because we felt that everything has really worked well and we've had really no issues, that we wanted to continue to stay with Sanford with this next 10-year renewal contract. We've also talked with people that work at the hospital as well, and they have also expressed that they would like to stay with Sanford as well. One of the other things we kind of looked at too is if you go to a different provider, you have to change all the records and the hospital staff really likes the Epic records that we have right now. The cost of changing all of that is very expensive, and it's a lot of extra time to learn a whole new computer system and things like that. So we have met, like I said, many different times, and through this, we decided to go forward and continue with Sanford. We have been in negotiations to get the final contract all said and done, and we're hopefully going to have that signed at the next board meeting coming up this month.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher. If the council doesn't mind, I want to start with just a few questions here. What do we got on here? I'm getting, oh, your mics. Oh. Just push this. Okay. And you mentioned the word negotiating. Was there actually items that you asked to be changed, anything that concerned you within the agreement? I'm just curious, some of the things that you were looking for, maybe did some tweaks or changes.
I'll have Justin answer that. He's got those right in front of him.
There we go, sorry. Yeah, so we did, Sanford came back to us, and we've always had a 90-day service change, so if they want to change any services that they provided to the hospital, that we initially had 90 days to make those changes. They came back on the new contract and wanted 30. We pushed back and negotiated back to 60 days, and the big reason for that is if we would have a change in services from Sanford, it would take our hospital and our staff a long time to implement those, as we don't have all the resources here, and we rely heavily on Sanford to provide that. So that was one of the big things for us. There was also a consumer price index or inflation rate adjustment. That did come out. It's always historically been 3% with where we sit today. The new maximum will be 5%, so there is a cap, but it could fall back below that. So we felt with where we're at today and that being close to 7% today, historically it's been 2%, that was probably fair, as we might be into that 5% range for the next couple of years, but then it should fall back down, hopefully. So, and then the major final thing was the Sanford supply chain vendor agreement. So right now, we're still in negotiations, and this is kind of our final piece that we're pushing back on a little bit is they have better buying power than Windham Area Health can ever have, just due to their size. So this contract would allow us to buy through their vendor partners to provide us cheaper cost on some things. There's very limited negatives to us. The only negative is if we have an outpatient service that requires an exact product for their patient and they don't provide it, we'd have to go outside and buy it, but we also get better discounts because of that. So for the most part, it's been very smooth, and we also had our legal look at that as well, and they're also negotiating the same contract for two other communities as well in Minnesota. So we feel pretty confident. She's been very heavily involved as well and has looked at everything.
Thank you, and I'll just follow up and thank you, Justin, for your financial background that you bring to this board. I think that's very important, and one of the reasons I think we have diversified people serve on the board. So, Kay, did you have expertise in this one, that things that you've seen there or that you were concerned about or anything?
Well, the big thing I did, there we go. The big thing, I was actually approached by several staff members, individually coming up and just voicing their concerns if there was a change. We did have the heart-to-heart on what they thought, what their feelings were with Sanford right now. And their main concern, basically, too, with the staff is the Epic medical records division that they would do. They do not want to get off that program. That is something that would weigh heavily on them, and again, financially to the hospital if we changed. I did also get approached by several community members, and they are just very happy because of the outreach that has been extended and the things and the programs that we have been developing at the hospital. They were just worried if changes were made, would we lose services and those kind of things. So we really want to keep going in the direction that we're going and building where we're at.
Council members? Well, I'm going to continue too then. I'm sorry, I don't run out of questions very often. But this evening, You have some folks, you mentioned your board members, and thank you for coming this evening. John's here from your financial department. Shelby's here as the administrator of Windham Area Health. And we have Mr. Mahar here this evening. How were you able to keep separation, okay, between your discussions with, and keep that separate part when you're, as a board, representing the city of Windham Hospital in Sanford? That had to be difficult. I see no other way it wasn't, but it had to be difficult. And I'm just curious on because there has to be good, positive relationships with, your provider in Sanford. Okay. And I understand that. How did you work your way through that?
I'll take that one. Basically what we did is we met with the whole senior management team and went through like areas in their departments.
Who is that?
It'd
Who's
be-
your senior management team?
It would be
That's-
John. Let's see, Emily was there as well. Kelsey, thank
the
you.
Director of Nursing. Yep.
Who else was there?
Emily, she would be probably Human Resources.
Yep, she was there as well.
Yep.
So those are the people that we mainly met with to go over areas that they saw that we needed to address and make sure that stuff worked. We actually have a service matrix that we went through in very fine detail. That's, 15, 20 pages long. And we went through all those areas together. And then in addition to that, we also heavily relied on our council as well. That's been our council for many years now. So she was very beneficial in this as well.
One more chance for the council.
I simply don't hear anything negative, so it doesn't generate a question, so.
And
And-
I fully realize that many of you guys have been doing this for quite a while, and I appreciate your expertise.
Absolutely, and many of these people know that I ask questions just so the public can understand, and I think that's important. When we're dealing with something the city of Windham is very proud of is Windham Area Health, right? So I think we have to ask those questions so the public can understand. And Lisa, any final comments or anything you had?
No, I just think that the board as a whole does a wonderful job. And even the hospital, I've gone through many of their services and I think they do a fantastic job.
Thank you. And Steve, from the administration standpoint, any comments or questions you may have that should be asked that I'm not thinking of?
I really didn't have anything in particular. I think you hit on the kind of the key question I had is, balancing those needs between the city and the Sanford, side of, the discussion. So that was, you kind of hit on the one question I had, so.
Well, I do appreciate once again, the involvement, the partnership with Sanford. I hope your negotiations are finalized soon then. And you got the bosses back here, so tell them what to do and we'll go from there. So I think we're in pretty good shape. And thank you for coming and presenting. And one thing I'll say is there was no hesitation when I got a hold of Shelby of saying, yes, the board would be here to make this presentation prior to it being signed. And I truly appreciate that. So thank you all. Keep up the great work. And as always, there'll be bumps along the road, right? But I think we can feel pretty good that we have a good board there and good administration and good partnership with Sanford. So thank you all. Thank you. Okay. We have, next, we have a resolution, and that is reestablishing unchanged precincts. So can we just make a motion to stay the same?
It's a resolution, but. sure.
Okay, all right. Steve, you want to explain that quick?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll go over this just real quick. This, as you know, we had the 2020 census, and after the census numbers are all released, The different governing jurisdictions, the city, state, and the federal government have to do redistricting, so you know where the boundaries are gonna lie and those changes. That comes all the way down to the city. The city has 2 wards, and then there's 2 precincts in each ward, so there's really 4 little individual sections, and we elect council members by wards. But we also have planning and zoning board members by precinct, as it sets up in the way we do business. However, so we needed to look at this for redistricting, because the county then uses our wards as part of their redistricting. And so we worked with the county once we got the census numbers back, and worked with them and their GIS person to basically draw the boundaries as we've got them currently, and then look at the census block groups that are within those boundaries and tell us how many people were in each precinct by the census data that we had received. And I'm happy to report that we don't have to make any changes in our redistricting, which is a very good thing, because otherwise it gets funky with where do I vote? Hey, I voted in this one last time and whatnot. So it's good for the election judges, it's good for the election staff, and for the citizens, so they can still vote in exactly the same wards and precincts. There is no specific statute. It says the district shall be as reasonably equal, and there is not a statutory number of said what is reasonable. There is a legislative case that was in the court system a few years back. I think it was on a county redistricting for commissioner seats, and the court ruled that within 10%. Okay. Now Windham has 2 wards, and so that's really, our precincts aren't part of that, because we elect council members by ward. So it's really the wards that have to balance. And so when we did the work with the county, our wards came out, we now have 4,798 people. Our wards came out not only within 10%, we're within 1% of balancing off. And it was actually even closer than that, but I don't remember the exact number. I think it was within 10 people. So we were very, very close. And then we applied that just to see where the numbers lay. We then applied that to the precincts and just took a look at that for our internal stuff. And I think 132 was maybe our big difference there. So we're really in pretty good shape. So we're recommending that we leave the boundaries for the wards and the precincts all as is. And if the council passes this resolution, we'll provide that to the county, then they can finish up on their commissioner districts, and then that will then roll up, and the state is now working also on their House and Senate redistricting plans. So one step in the process.
Well, I'd be delighted to introduce this resolution reestablishing unchanged precincts for Ward 1 and Ward 2 and designation of the Windham Community Center as the polling place.
I would second.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Marv, for the second. Any discussion on the resolution before us? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call.
Sherman,
Yes.
Farrig,
Yes.
Quaid, Nelson,
Yes.
Grunig.
Yes.
And I am very happy that that's unchanged, and I would just hate to know how you would have to go about changing them. I don't even want to know, Steve. Okay. We have next on the agenda, we have a planning commission recommendation, minor subdivision at 1945 4th Avenue. Andy's here this evening to tell us all about that and what the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission was. Andy?
Thank you. Andy Spielman, Building and Zoning Official. So as the mayor said, this is an application for a minor subdivision. It was submitted by Wayne and Deborah Mao. The property address is 1945 4th Avenue. This is the lot. They're currently constructing a new house, and that lot is quite large. North and south dimensions are large enough to where they were able to split the lot into 2 and essentially create one new lot. That new lot will be addressed to Norway Avenue. Included in your packet was the application that lists the existing use of the property as a single-family building lot. It is in the R2 zoning district, which is 1 and 2 family dwellings district. The blue shaded area there is the current lot as it exists right now. That does show one house there. That house has been raised, and construction of a new home is taking place right there on the southern portion of the lot. The next page in the packet is a survey that was submitted with a new legal description for that lot there. That's the new lot that's being created. Both lots will meet the size requirements for this zoning district, and with the new property line, the new home that's being built will still meet all the setback requirements. As I said, it's in the R2 zoning district, so any use would have to comply with that district. It would be addressed to Norway Avenue. There is water and sewer available in Norway Avenue. Electric and fiber, as far as city services go, is on 4th Avenue to the south. So we are requesting a 5-foot utility easement along the entire west property line, which would be the left of the property. That's the lot that's there now. Would be the left side of that, all the way from 4th Avenue to the north end of the newly created lot. That will get us into what we already have as a 20-foot wide water easement on the north side of the lot, so that would allow us to serve that that lot from either direction then. The Planning Commission met on January 11th and discussed this, and they did recommend the council approve the minor subdivision with the condition that the city establish a 5-foot easement on the west property line. That entire easement would be on the Mao's property, so we would not be asking the neighbor for any easement on their portion.
Andy, once again, what was that easement for again?
That easement would be for city electric and fiber.
My question on that is 5 feet is not very much.
Yeah, 5 foot was the recommendation of our electric superintendent.
Was,
And
okay.
telecom superintendent said they would joint bury, so if electric was able to bury, they would follow them. And partly because it's just a branch line, it's not a main, they're not gonna have to set a new substation or anything else back there, was part of his reasoning. 5 foot gets to where it would be completely within any setbacks of a garage or utility shed or anything, so it wouldn't get in the way for anything on the lots.
Any questions for Andy on the request? It sounds pretty straightforward. I think Planning Commission has did a good job again with their recommendation, and it's coming to us. Council have any questions for Andy? Hearing none, we're going to entertain that motion to approve the minor subdivision change at 1945 4th Avenue.
I'll make the motion to make the minor subdivision of parcel 251320010.
Second.
Thank you, Lisa. Seconded by Jason.
Does that
Okay.
include the easement?
And that includes the recommendation of the easement?
Yes.
Yes.
Jason? Yes, okay. We'll include that in the original motion. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Andy. Andy, are you sticking around for the balance of the meeting? I have a question afterwards, just a random one here. Okay. Next, we have the second reading of ordinance number 192, second series, amending chapter 93 of animals. I'm sorry I missed that first reading about the goats and the sheep. Could the council brief me? I didn't see a lot of discussion in the minutes.
Basically, Mayor, it's just allowing for goats and sheep to be within the city's parks to tame the wild weeds.
This is specifically for Mayflower Park, for the buckthorn that's overgrown.
Yeah, the discussion was that there are some invasive species in that park especially, and with the challenging topography, it might be easier to have it eaten away by some goats and or sheep versus getting big equipment in there. So this isn't a done deal yet, but it's allows the possibility for it. And so that's why we were acting ahead of time, so.
And the goats and the sheep were willing to do it at no charge, so it seemed like a good idea.
Mr. Grunig, I could only imagine that you would come up with that. Very good. Thank you all for your explanations. Is there a motion to that effect, that consider this the second reading, and which will be upon, what, 1 week after the published date? Okay.
I'd make the motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
That motion was made by Marv, seconded by Jason. Any discussion on that? And will that be a publication of the whole, or just this? Okay. I didn't know if you had to make that smaller version on this one, so, okay.
I guess has anybody gone up and looked at that? Any of us? I haven't, I know. I've heard some of that buckthorn is size of trees, and I don't know, will a goat eat that, or will it still have to be taken care of?
Well, if we're gonna get an answer to that, for your question, John's back here. John, do you know all about the buckthorn? Did you wanna come up to the table and tell us what it's all about? That was Jim Nelson's question, by the way.
Yes, it is pretty overgrown, and yes, there is some big buckthorn up there. Not to mention a lot of deadfalls and a little bit of everything else, especially on the hillside and that, so it might be worth a try, at least to see if they'll eat most of it. If not, we can always go for a ride up there and check it out sometime.
Well, we are,
I don't know if will the goats eat the dead stuff and the trees and or are we just, I mean, if it's not cost us anything, why not? But I'm just curious, is it going to be hold up for as far as opening the park up, or is it, you know, are they still going to want to throw their, whatever it is they throw around up there? Or?
I mean, it is open pretty much, and the baskets are all open. Tyann did come up there and look it over everything. The only real complaint she had is some of the, what would you say, some mapping or something, and where the positions of the tee is and stuff. And she said she might be looking into taking and doing something with that.
I think the first thing is we gotta get her cleaned up, so I think this may be a good start, and this allows us to do that if the council decides to enter into that agreement in the future, right? Or whatever we can do. Okay, thank you, John. And I do believe that we're taking a tour. I guess if we have questions this spring, we should swing up by Mayflower Park. I did not hear anybody has been up there. I have not in years. So we should probably do that, put that on the list. Okay, with that, let's go on to the next item, personnel recommendations. We are going to start with the Street and Park Superintendent item. The council has the agreement that terms of employment that is been offered and agreed to if the council accepts this. So the council will need to, this is the department head position, the council will need to take action on this. This is one that comes to the council. And so it's pretty well stated, I think, and I believe that this is a recommendation from actually two committees, probably personnel and members of personnel and the street and parks, correct? Okay. So any questions? If you do, please ask them to either members of either one of those committees or Steve. Steve?
Yep, Mayor, just a quick background for everybody's benefit. Mr. Cooley, Brian Cooley, had submitted a resignation, which the council accepted, At the last council meeting, there was a discussion. John Ketzenberg has been our acting streets and park superintendent for the last couple of months. And the direction at that time was to advertise it internally. So the internal ad was posted, that ran for a week. And then the members of the street committee, Councilmember Quaid, Councilmember Sherman, we had one applicant, internal applicant, and they did that interview, and this is the recommendation coming from that. So,
Who was that applicant?
Mr. Ketzenberg.
All right. I think a very good applicant. So, with that, gentlemen, ladies,
Yes, as far as the street committee goes, Jenny and I are very favorable. We see no issues, and we are glad that there's someone who is able to do the job and willing to do the job. So that was good, and we were able to figure out all the details, obviously with the help of Mr. Nasby. And so it looks like we are a go from the street committee. I'm going to make that a motion to to accept John Ketzenberg as the new street and park superintendent with the
I'll
terms of
second.
employment listed in the memorandum.
I believe I heard us. Okay, thank you, Jason. And Jim made the second on that hiring of John Ketzenberg as per the in terms of employment as listed before you. Any final comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Welcome aboard as superintendent. And I'll take this opportunity right now to say thank you for a job well done on this last snow again. I haven't heard any comments, and I thought it was a real good job again. And of course, timing helps. And I think getting out there early, I like seeing that. So that's my opinion anyway. So with that, we will go on to the next agenda item under personnel. Community Center Assistant Receptionist and On-Call Person. This has been through personnel, is my understanding, Steve?
Yeah, the vacancy, when we had our administrative assistant, Brittany, had turned her resignation in December. That went to personnel. They directed us to advertise. That position was advertised, and the interviews were conducted by the community center director and the chair of the community center board, and their recommendation is Jill Wolf to hire for the community center administrative assistant position, and this is a full-time position with the city. The second request from the community center is for just to hire an on-call person. We have several folks kind of either in the stable or on the bench or whatever that we can contact when we have larger events and need some fill-in help. And the person being recommended there is Lindsay Power, and that's the second memo that's in your packet. So, and that's a
Was that Tower? I'm
That's-
sorry.
what's that?
The last name?
Power.
Power.
Yes, Power. Yep.
Okay, let's do this. I think we'll do it one at a time. The first one being the full-time, which is, okay, I'm sorry, Wolf.
Yep.
Okay, and that is for the full-time position. Is there a motion to approve that hire?
I'll make the motion to approve Jill Wolf as the Community Center Administrative Assistant.
And I would second.
Thank you, Lisa, for that motion, and a second by Marv Gurnick to hire Jill Wolf as the full-time community center assistant. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Second, we have for the receptionist part-time and on-call, Lindsay Power. Is there a motion to approve that hire?
It's just on call. There's not a reception
I'm sorry, on-call.
portion to it. It's just an on call. They could fill a number of different roles.
There's a slash between that and the other. Okay. Sorry.
I'll make the motion to hire Lindsay.
And I would second once again.
Motion to hire Lindsay power for on-call needs. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
At 12.5.
Pardon me?
At $12.5 an hour.
At $12.50 an hour. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're going to talk about the ambulance director. There's a lot of information that was included in your packet, and is Tim Hacker here tonight? Hey, Tim, I'm going to ask if you could come up. Tim's our ambulance director right now, and Tim has worked in that position for I don't know how many years. It's been a heck of a long time. 12 years? And, part of this whole idea, and thought about a full-time ambulance director is something that Tim's thinking about for a while. And I think, Tim is one in that position. He was talked to about this and discussed it with members of this commission. So we're going to open up this, I think, for maybe a description.
I think just kind of a little bit of an overview of why what the organizational change is in the service, kind of why it's being looked at this time. And then we can also then have a position description for your review and approval. And then if you want to approve advertising for said position, then I also have some information on a hiring range to suggest to you. That was researched with some of the league stuff and sent out personnel, and I'll get into that later.
And I'll just ask Tim the direct question. Why do we need to do this, or should we consider this, Tim? That's the question, and we have to, I think, the public needs to understand what all goes into this position and the work that you've done in the past, Tim. It's very time consuming. So I've seen that, and could you just help us through this first portion? Just why should we look at this?
It is time consuming. Yes, I'm the ambulance director, but I've also got people under me that Kim Powers, she's retired. She does a lot. She does the electronic run sheet stuff. She does the scheduling. She does the payroll. She's got a home down in Arizona where she's at right now and wants to spend more time down there too. Mary Holman, everybody knows Mary. She's wants to retire also. She was basically Kim's backup. So those two kind of did the behind the scenes paperwork type of thing. I'm the one that was out front, getting stuff done, making sure things got done. I'll be 63 next month. Sooner or later, it's inevitable that as busy as this squad is, 2021, we had 1,138 runs. I mean, when I started back in the day, it was 450 runs a year. This COVID thing has burnt a lot of people out. There's paperwork, you got to keep on top of stuff with protocols with the medical director, the state of Minnesota. I own a business, I've got a real job too, and it's time. With this full-time director's position, it could be combined with, I've talked to Kim, she wants to start slacking off too, doesn't want to quit being an EMT, but wants to enjoy Arizona. So with this full-time director position, that person could do all of it. if it's too much for them, as one person, they could assign a co-director if, but a lot of people like their free time right now, and it's really hard to get somebody to commit. That's the way it is all over.
Tim, could you touch base a little bit on, I've seen other communities around us have recently done this. Is that more the norm now, where with 1,100 calls, other communities are seeing this too?
Is it the norm? I can't answer that. I know, Worthington, they're hospital affiliated. That ambulance director's a paramedic. When he's not doing his office work, he's part of the hospital crew, either starting IVs or whatever he's doing, Jackson just started the full-time directorship, and I don't know that much about that. I know Jackson was having trouble, getting people on call to cover call time. Okay. Well, I own my own business. The crew I've got at my shop is awesome, which allows me to leave. That's the number one thing. That's how come I can do what I'm doing here, is because it's being taken care of out at the shop. As far as other part-time directors, I guess I don't know what the deal is. All I know is ambulance services throughout the country, in this area for sure. I mean, it's all over. They're having harder time finding people to cover during the day. Weekends, people want their weekends off. Now, I don't know how this is going to work being a city employee, but I've worked I don't know how many holidays just to give my people time. When one crew goes to Sioux Falls, you got to have somebody standing by to cover town. There's 2 people. I've been listening and waiting for somebody else to jump in, and sometimes they can, sometimes they don't, but I'm the one that steps in, and, or Kim when she's around. It's not just me. That's not what it's all about, but people have real jobs, and as busy as we are, even when you ask for somebody to stand by while we go to Sioux Falls, as busy as we are back in the day, well, nothing's going to happen anyway. That's not how it is now. You will probably have to leave your job if they allow you to go do this, and then they're taking up part of they have to take vacation pay or whatever it is to make up that time. So it's beginning to be more of a full-time thing.
I do think that we are very fortunate that we have employers, not only for your department, but fire department and so on. Some of those emergency departments allow their staff to go out and help our community. So I think you've expressed the why we're looking at it, part of it now. Who wants to go next and explain the next step? Marv?
Well, I would just talk a little bit about it, the personnel meeting we had, and Tim talked about the different duties and responsibilities that he had and other staff people that get paid to do whatever they do. And by this list of duties that Tim brought to us and responsibilities, he thought that a director's position full-time could work financially within the department as it currently is, correct? And then maybe going beyond, maybe in the 23 or so, we'd have to look at that financial part of it. But so those duties and responsibilities became part of the job description that we see in the packet. And I believe, Steve, you probably put that together. So that's what became the recommendation of the personnel then, is to approve this job description and go forward with advertising for the position.
Marv, would it be okay if we just had Steve go over some of the highlights of that agreement, just so the public can, or the criteria, I'm sorry, agreement, wrong word.
Looking for what was in the job description
Yes,
here?
job
Yeah.
description.
So,
Thank you.
as Tim's got in, thanks to him for putting all this together and pulling all this information together. We also did look at several job descriptions from a couple of other services just to make sure we were catching everything. But, obviously there's administrative duties with it. Then there's the operation of the service itself. And then EMT and squad members, they have meetings, monthly meetings, you have refresher trainings, those all have to be lined up and gone through, as well as the, documentation for those things. And then, of course, there's the billing that you need to make sure we're on top of. We do have a contract biller, but we have to make sure that we submit the right paperwork to them to get the billing process done. Mary works with a lot of that. Obviously, then, as you can see on the screen, there's compliance. We work to keep our medical license with our medical director and submitting that paperwork in. Required knowledge, skills, and abilities. Again, we're talking about EMTs, we're talking about the training and keeping up refreshers and keeping up the license and being able to solve problems there. Just making sure that our current EMTs are meeting all the required qualifications. And then we had some preferred qualifications. We're looking for somebody that, not only is an EMT, but maybe have some supervisory or administrative experience. Because we have, how many EMTs do you have on staff right now? Is it
23-ish?
23-ish, okay. And we're usually in that 20 to 22, 23 range. So obviously there's, some personnel abilities that we need there. And then obviously there's, different physical demands. I mean, EMT, you're out in inclement weather, you're out at midnight, and there's obviously some mental health issues as well as that they deal with, as well as also themselves going out to accident scenes, things like that. And so there's a lot of demands that are physically and mentally on that person. And so we've got a fairly good list of knowledge, abilities, skills here. I will point out under essential duties, I had an error. I had them also overseeing the street department people. I was putting Tim's pieces into our format, and I missed a paragraph, and it should say, the supervision of the employees of the ambulance service, not Parks and Rec. So I will apologize for having a. Let's call it Tim thinks I had a senior moment, so, well, I said it was haste, but he thought maybe I should fess up, and because I'm getting old too, so. But, no, I think it was well done. Tim put a lot of work into it. Like I said, we talked to several other services. One of the other ones we talked to was City of Springfield. They have a medical provider that actually is running their service. So Worthington, they sold to the hospital, so the hospital runs it. In Jackson, they hired an ambulance director and they hired an assistant ambulance director. They hired 2 full-time people right out of the gate, because as Tim mentioned, they're having a hard time filling calls during the day as well, and those are their primary folks during the day. And then, as I mentioned, Springfield contracted theirs out to private management from medical providers. So where we're going with this, and as Tim noted, how busy our service is, and just with all the other demands, I think this is a very good solution to give a try to. as part of this, I had also contacted the League of Minnesota Cities and had them help me run a salary survey. There were about, what was there, Tim, 14 cities on that list that had full-time ambulance directors. And so I looked at the wages from that. And then I also talked to the city of Jackson and got their numbers. We plugged those in and then looked at.
Are they similar size, Steve?
There,
A lot of these?
there was the one that was the most similar size. Most of them, the next largest community was Jackson, and then they're in the 3,000s, 3,200, 3,300 population.
That already had directors.
They just hired directors,
They
right?
just- okay.
And then city of Chatfield, they're 2,500. They had they have a full-time ambulance director. And then in Pipestone County, the emergency management person is actually their ambulance director there. And so we had looked at the wages for those and kind of looked at mostly at Pipestone and Chatfield, and then we knew what Jackson was doing. And so we kind of looked at that, and the recommendation I made to personnel was that we advertise every supervisor position's his own grade. And so what I sent out to the personnel committee was recommended that we advertise in the 60 to 80 range, because you're going to have medical knowledge, you're going to have specialized skills. This puts us, within our department head's salary scale, about not quite halfway up the scale, so, but fairly close to it. And so Jackson, I think they were right at 60 something, and then they were paying for calls as well. So if the ambulance director took a call or was on call, they also got additional pay. And so, as Tim pointed out, there's be a few things if we move ahead with this, kind of see how it goes, and then if there are some jobs that we need to, so to speak, farm back out to some of the EMTs. Like right now, we have rig checkers that are checking the rigs, make sure they have supplies in them and doing that. They do that a couple of weeks. There's a little extra stipend that gets paid out for that. If we need to continue doing that, if the ambulance director doesn't have time to do it. Right now, we're envisioning them taking on all of those duties and doing it. But if, again, they become primary call people during the day, there may be some things like that that could go farm back out. And so we'll just kind of have to play that by ear a little bit as we move forward. Tim is not looking at, turning over the keys on day one, say, here you go, good luck. He's very gracious and would certainly help the new person transition into that position over a number of months. So
My EMT license doesn't expire until March of next year, so, and I haven't decided. I may even refresh again, but it'll be at a cruising speed.
Okay. So you've went through very well the description of the work. I'm curious on what requirements does an ambulance director, are there certain certifications, requirements, EMT license, or is there stuff like that, Tim?
To be an actual director, most everybody is at least an EMT basic or higher. There's EMT advanced, there's paramedic, you have to have the NIMS program, the 1 in 200, 700 is basically basic stuff. The 800, I believe, is the higher up, where you have to know the chain of command and who's the boss and incident commander and how all that works. That's part of the qualifications. What we have up there is you have to be a current national registered EMT. You got to have a valid driver's license, that's for sure. As far as being a CPR instructor and things like that, that's not necessary. We can get our CPR certification over the internet if we want to, but that's not the right way to do it. So
One thing I'll say too, and I've been missing kind of for the last 2 weeks here, so I'm getting caught up now. But I do remember that the night we had went over Tim's budget up at the community center, and I asked Tim, is it time? And he smiled and he said, I think it's time we start discussing that. And the council talked about it briefly at that time. And this is exactly, I think, what the council had in mind was Tim and Steve, Personnel Committee, work together and come up with, I guess, the description, salary class, all this information that you've provided now. And so I think it's to the point where council needs to decide whether we move forward, not to move forward, what your thoughts are. I personally, I'm all in. So, council, your thoughts on where you're at?
I think the timing of it is perfect because Tim is willing to stay involved, and that's going to be 9/10 of it.
You had me at Park and Rec. I mean, it's amazing. We're gonna need an amazing person to fill that role, but, they're out there. So I am in favor of this myself.
Lisa, any thoughts?
I think it's great because then they wouldn't have to rely on someone to be available. You would have that full-time person where it's their job to be there.
Jim?
I think we better start planning now because he said he's only got another year.
We'll renew your license, Tim. So, but next step, Steve. Maybe lead us through maybe the next couple steps, what
Yeah.
you're thinking.
Just what's on your agenda tonight is we're asking for approval of the job description, obviously with the change of not overseeing the street shop folks. So if you approve that job description, then I would ask that include the salary range that was sent out to personnel, which was, okay, you could do a separate, sure, 60 to 80, and see where it goes from there. And then if those two things pass, then we'd ask your approval to advertise for a full-time ambulance director. And kind of what we've discussed internally and with Tim is get this ad out probably towards the end of January sometime. And then have 4 to 6 weeks of open time. And then probably in March, look at possibly doing interviews, things like that, with a target towards a May or June start. That would allow someone maybe with children in school or something like that to relocate and do that. And Tim would be able to work with that person and transition them in. And that time frame seemed workable with all the parties. And hopefully, we get somebody on board. It can go quicker than that. That's fine. But we just wanted to make sure that we give it ample time to be out into the marketplace and then have those discussions after we find out what we get for a response. So.
I believe first thing would be to approve the, what are we calling this? The job description of the emergency EMT, I guess it's ambulance director position. Let's do that one first if we can.
I would make the motion to approve the job description with the correction.
Second, does that include that salary range too for that? It's on the thing, okay. I would second.
Thank you. Motion Marv, second Jason, as to approve the job description for the ambulance director. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, and that carries. Second one will be to approve the advertising for the ambulance director position.
I'll make the motion to approve the advertisement for the as Steve stated.
Second.
You remember that, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as Steve stated, we'll advertise, I think that timeline's good, by end of January. That's the gist of it. And the second was made by Jason. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now for that, Steve included in the packet, I believe the range was 60 to 80. Is
That was not in the packet.
Oh,
That
it was not.
That was tonight's discussion. At the time we were putting this together, we were finalizing some of that information that I obtained from the league, and then I heard from, I believe, all the personnel committee members that they were supportive of that range of 60 to 80,000 for the position, and Mr. Hacker is also aware of that. So.
Okay, and I think it is appropriate because that does fall under the ambulance director position on the agenda, that can be discussed this evening as submitted to the council unless somebody here feels different. It is, I think there was research done to validate that 60 to 80. Do you concur, Tim? Okay, getting the nod back there. Personnel committee on board, and we did hear from Ginny also on that, so I think we're good to go. Steve, are you okay with that? And is there a motion to approve the 60,000 to 80,000 as the wage for the initial advertisement of the ambulance director?
I'd make that motion.
I would second.
Motion Jason, second Marv, to approve the 60,000 as the job classification and rate. So any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Tim, thank you for now, and we look forward to you helping us through this process, and we'll see where we go. We'll see the list of good applicants.
Hope so.
Yep, we'll get them. Good community to work in. We're always encouraging people to move to our community, so here you go. Maybe we have somebody within, you never know. Tim may apply for it, you never know. So we'll
Should
see
have
what.
offered that about 12 years ago.
No paybacks, Tim. So anyway, but I'm glad you can smile about it. This, all right. Very good. Thank you, sir. Mayor appointments. As I've stated, I've been a little behind here for the last couple of weeks, but we do have a couple board appointments. And those board appointments should be for Jason Kruger on the Airport Commission, Brent Mattson on the Planning Commission. That's the ones we have for now. Is there a motion to approve those two appointments?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion, Jim?
I'll second the motion.
Second, Lisa, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I can tell you one thing, that we have potentially 3 positions open on Park and Rec, and we need to get them filled. So council members, please help me. Members of the public, we'd appreciate your input on here. Send me some names if you know people who would likely volunteer to take those positions. We would appreciate that. And we will continue our search within our city hall too. So, okay, we will go to the pay equity implementation report. Steve.
Okay, state of Minnesota, every year, or every 3 years, requires the city to submit a pay equity report. Essentially, it's a job listing of all the positions in the city. As the hospital is also city-owned, it includes the hospital, except for the CEO's position. So we have the city positions and the hospital positions. They get combined, and then they're assigned job points for the state job match. And then there's the wage range information that's submitted along with that. That data is put together and then run through a state formula that it's kind of a template that comes out, and there's these tests that are shown on the screen. And so Denise Nichols, our finance and information analyst, does this report, does an excellent job with it, got it all done, put together, and then there's a self-test. You put your data in and then hit submit and then the self-test come back and kind of tells you where you're at. And as you can see by the memo that you put together, we do pass the 4 separate tests for the pay equity report, and there's the compliance report has been attached, and this is the that kind of self-test you put together. And if the council approves the submission of this report tonight, then we send it to the state. It's got to be done by the 31st of January, so this is our opportunity to do this, and otherwise we get found in non-compliance. You may remember 3 years ago, we did have one category that we did not pass the self-test on, and that was due to a small change at the hospital. They had reduced their pay scale from 16 steps to 12 steps. I'm sorry, they added 4 steps. They were at 12, they added more steps to it. And because they're female-dominated classes, this test came out and it showed that it took females longer to get to the top of scale than it did males, just because they had added steps. So they made some corrections in their scale, and so we did that adjustment so we could pass the test, and we continue with the same pay scales in place for this year. So that was not a concern or a problem this year. So.
Okay. Simple motion should be all right for that. This will be a motion to approve the 2021 pay equity implementation report.
I'd make a motion to accept this pay equity compliance report.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Jason, seconded by Lisa. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
2022 City Council meeting dates and times. The proposed dates and times are in your packet as listed. Anything on that, Steve?
Nope, just very, very quickly. I should have done this at the first council meeting of the year because I realized when we changed the council meeting time 2 years ago, we put into code that the council shall annually set times. And so I did miss it the first for your organizational meeting last time, but it was actually okay that I missed it because the caucuses came up and had noticed that there are precinct caucuses this year in 2022. And state statute says that there may be no meetings of governmental units after 6 p.m. on caucus dates. So we're going to get by the election this year because 2022 is an election, but we meet on the first Tuesday of the month. The election is actually the second Tuesday of the month because the election has to be the first Tuesday after the first Monday, and that will be the 8th this year. So we don't have to move our council meeting in November, but we do have to move our council meeting time on February 1st to be no later than we can't meet anytime past 6. So my suggestion to you was to move that meeting time from February 1 to 4:30 p.m. and then that would give you until 6 to get through that city business.
And that's why you waited, right?
It was a happy accident, let's say
Okay.
that.
All right. Okay. With that qualification noted, is there a motion, I guess, to approve the 2022 City Council meeting dates and times?
Well, I guess I wouldn't ask the question that is 6:30 approved by everybody. And it's fine, yeah.
I think it's working good.
Yeah.
Everybody good with that? Yep.
I still get my sleep.
Second.
Marv makes a motion to approve the council meeting dates and times for 2022, and Jason with the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes. New business, citywide cleanup.
So I will have you
Okay.
at 4:30 on February 1st.
4:30.
Yep, just to make sure that that was clear for everyone, so that one meeting will be at 4:30, the rest of them will be at the 6:30 time. And then also in your schedule that I had in, we have tentative board review, and that's usually that second Monday of May, and that was noted in that schedule as well, but that's special meeting and not a regular meeting, so you're good.
And Steve will remind us of all these changes as they come forward. It'll be in your packets as mailed. Okay. Now, citywide cleanup date. Are we going to pick that tonight, Steve?
That is up to you as a council. As Denise has in her memo, that we did have, or do have a 3-year agreement with Hometown. That was 2020, 2021, 2022. And then, of course, the landfill is only open 2 Saturdays a month, and which is the first and third Saturdays of each month. So as she's got noted in bold here, if you want to keep a spring date, April 16th, May 21st, and June 18th are the dates that are available, because Hometown also had some other commitments of their time. So if you would like to keep it in the spring, those are the 3 dates. If you want to consider another time of year, such as fall, then there'd be some more availability of dates, but we wanted to get your thoughts.
When did we do 2021? You recall? Was that fall or spring? Or?
No, it was spring. We've done them in spring, only
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
correct.
COVID year.
Yeah, COVID year we did one.
That's right. Okay. And so I thought seeing April 16th, I thought was too early, but I think we'll have, I don't know, you could have snow then yet, but.
May 21st to me seems like a reasonable, it's early enough, not interrupting summer plans and stuff.
It is not fishing opener, it is not Mother's Day weekend, so we,
It's not? We're clear?
yes, that's much earlier.
Graduation, I'm not sure.
It could be fairly close to that.
Does our
That's in June, I think, right?
media know that?
That's in June.
Ron? No? Oh. Last weekend of May. Okay, thank you, chief. That's why the chief comes to these minutes.
It's a day he's got circle on his calendar, so.
Yeah, okay. Okay, sounds like, are we in agreement with? Uh-oh.
I was just kind of thinking, you know, people want to get rid of stuff. You would have all summer to have garage sales. And then your cleanup would follow the garage sales. So possibly like September. Just a thought.
Gentlemen, you're being challenged.
Riverfest still in June. That's what they always went by before. That's what everybody hollered about. We gotta get cleaned up by Riverfest, so. Makes no difference to me. I don't put nothing out. I keep all my junk.
Well, okay, I think that's a good question. Okay,
I still think May 21st fits best all around personally, but
The one issue I see is we've trained the citizens of Windham so well that their stuff is coming out fairly early, and it's gonna be there all summer if we wait till fall. So, April 16th, May 21st is good with me.
unlike Jim, I do have a lot of stuff I need to put out, sooner the better. But I don't get a vote. I'm sorry, Lisa. We're gonna vote on this, so you have your, or you could. 1, 2, 3. But does the council want to take action? Do we need to do it tonight?
You do not have to. You do not have to do it tonight. We got the dates from Hometown, so we want to be able to get it moving so that we can get all the recyclers and get our dates set and all that kind of stuff. So we're just bringing it up. It's not a must absolutely do, but
Well, the thing is, though, is I don't want to lose it if somebody else takes May 21st. Okay.
I would be willing to make a motion to move the citywide cleanup to May 21st.
Second.
Motion has been made by Jason, seconded by Jim, to approve May 21st as the spring cleanup day. Discussion?
I just want it noted that I preferred the fall.
Well noted.
We haven't voted yet. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Speaking of Riverfest, has anything been taken care of on that other problem we were having?
I did speak to Bark about it, and they were going to contact the person in charge of that. So I'm
And I have no idea
I will
what you're
follow-
talking
I'll
about,
follow
so
up
we'll
on
let
it, so
you
I'll let you know after.
take it. Okay, we have a motion on the floor in a second to approve May 21st as the spring cleanup day. Okay. Any questions or final comments? It is duly noted that the suggestion was brought up for the fall. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried and noted. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Old business. Any old business or new business, Steve? Okay. Under council comments, and I'm just going to quickly go first if you don't mind. Just to remind everyone that the current, let me see. Yeah, the current winner rate so far for the first few council meetings in 2022 is Jason holds a record of 21 minutes. I just had to say that. Good job, Jason. So, I hope everybody's having a great start to the new year. You know, there's things going on in our community. You know, I'm just wishing everybody a safe start to this new year. And I would add that we do have, once again, we have committees available. If you have a particular committee that you're interested in, contact myself, contact City Hall, leave Steve a message, put it in my mailbox here at City Hall. We do need telecom also. I know for the sure, Park and Rec. We have some advisory boards for the Charter Commission. We have several, I would say, and they're by I think they're split by
2 years and 2 years.
Oh, okay. Okay. And so we have openings. Please submit your name into it, and we'll talk. And right now, you could have your choice of several of the committees. So with that, I am going to ask Jason for any comments you may have.
Yes, sir. I was just going to say that I am tickled pink to be part of this process, and I know that every part of Windom is represented by other council people, and I would love to help you if I can. So give me a call sometime if you'd like. Thanks.
Marv?
Well, with the mayor noting that we now have openings on different commissions and committees, that means that members that haven't served have gone off. So I would like to thank all those people and maybe have them reconsider because they're experienced. And so thank you, everybody that served on a committee or a commission in the last few years.
Very good, Marv, and I think that brings up the thing, if they want to, they could switch committees, you know, if they're getting off of one, and it'd be a good idea for those folks to try another one. Okay. Jim?
That's what I was gonna say, you know, you don't have to stay on just one committee, you can flip-flop.
Good idea, Jim. Lisa?
I just want to kind of add on to what you said, and again, still hope that everyone stays healthy, and with the spread of the, you know, the COVID and stuff, everybody stay safe and take precautions.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, and it's not only COVID, it's flus, viruses, colds, you know, 'tis the season for that stuff to go around anyway. So anyway, thank you. Steve?
Just welcome John Ketzenberg aboard as our new official Streets and Parks Superintendent, and thank you for the good job you and your guys are doing.
Very good, and I concur. So do you, right, Jason?
Absolutely.
Great job, snow removal. Let's keep it up. There'll be hiccups along the way, but so far so good. And we are adjourned by unanimous consent.